Hey, what's up, Mike? How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Good. Thanks for agreeing to do another assignment with me. We're gonna the interview today on youth sports. So just so that people have some like understanding of where you're coming from, if I don't know, maybe take a second to talk about. I know you have two girls. Claire's about to turn 3, right?
Yeah, yeah, no problem. So I come from a background in action sports, I guess you'd say. Since I was little, I skateboarded and snowboarded and rode bikes, and then ultimately, like after graduating college, I started a business based around kiteboarding, where I was owning a retail store, but also kiteboarding as much as the wind would allow me to. That went on for about 6 years. I got into like paddleboarding, sailing, a bunch of other outdoor sports. I then moved to New York, took like a break from everything, and just started rock climbing in a gym. But other than that, really like got super out of shape. And now I'm kind of back at it. So biking again, climbing, swimming, probably going to start running again, and have two kids. One is almost 3 in January, and then the other is about probably six
No.
months right now. I don't even know
No, she's like five
old she
months
is
old.
apparently.
I think she's not 6 months.
Wait,
Yeah.
she was born in January.
No, that's Claire.
Oh yeah, right. Sorry. She was born
Nora
in May.
Nora's born in May.
So yeah, she's not 6, but probably at some point she'll be 6 months. And with Claire, I've just been like, trying to get her outside as much as possible. She just started riding a three-wheeler, and I taught her how to go up a hill the other day. So she's like learning how to actually go up hills. I have her on a training bike. I brought her to like rock climbing gyms to do like little kids programs there. And and yeah, I'm just hoping to raise her to do a lot of sports.
So I'm sad I missed out on the rock climbing thing.
Yeah.
Um, well, like now she's starting to get into a point where around 3.5, 4 years old is when they can start to do like organized sports. And I know we talked a little bit about before this conversation some of the issues that we're discussing within this class, within this context. And I mean, do you plan on putting Claire into any organized sports when she gets old enough?
Yeah, I mean, I already thought about maybe putting her into karate, actually, because I did karate when I was little, and I learned a ton, not only about like self defense, but just about I don't know. I think like maybe my demeanor was kind of helped over time with that. And then gymnastics, because I also did gymnastics when I was little too. Um, so yeah, I'd like to get her into maybe those two organized sports. I'm trying to think if there was anything else. I feel like, I mean, I would do probably soccer would be another sport that I think we bought her a soccer ball and she just loves kicking it around. So I think I'd be totally fine with her doing that like in a more structured setting too.
And I mean, if you were to get her into, let's say, a structure setting like the YMCA, I think I was in YMCA basketball and soccer growing up. Um, do you think that, especially coming from an alternative sport background, doing a lot of things like that are much more independent, why do you prefer her to be in a structured environment as opposed to just letting her kind of do like
Well, I think it's good to have a balance of that, where I see like for example, the climbing gym that I took her to, it was so unstructured that I feel like she never really learned how to learn. And I feel like in a structured environment, she's being taught how to learn things at a faster pace, and also how to set like a schedule and regimen and all of that. But it's not like they're teaching her that at this age, but it's kind of starting to get ingrained in her head too. And I know from my experience, like, so my parents were really, really reserved, or just more traditional, I guess. Like I only did traditional sports. Like I started to get into things as like a teenager, which I feel was just too late. Like I felt like I was really good at snowboarding, but I should have been doing it since I was little. But my parents were just coming from the background of like, the basic sports, like they never did karate. That was like crazy for them, but like football and soccer and like whatever's offered at the high school. So I think that those things really helped me, but I think it'd be better to have both of them kind of happening at the same time too.
And what do you think about some of the drawbacks of having her in like really any type of program? I mean, if you have her in the climbing gym, or if you're putting her in soccer, like the issue of, and you and I have talked about this before too, is it's always an issue of coaching too, right? Like you want to go into a gym and do something, and the person coaching you is a factor. And how much of a factor do you think is considered when you're taking Claire into a program and like looking at the coaching, looking at some of the core values of the program? I mean, using the YMCA, just something that we're both familiar with, and I think most people are familiar with, it's kind of clear what the values are of that organization. But that's not necessary of every YMCA nor every organization. Does it make sense? Like,
yeah, I mean, I think that I'll have a lot of trouble trying to find something for her because I'll be so picky about it. And I think it is really important. But I think one thing that people will probably do often is treat kids as just little kids all the time. But Claire, for example, is not like other kids, and really like shouldn't be held back because of like the way that other people train other little kids. Like, so I'd be looking for someone who's capable of training at like, teaching people about the teamwork of it, but also recognizing individuality so that she gets the attention that she needs there. And I think sometimes too, like, people who want to put their kids into organized sports, there's either like the parent that wants their kids to be screamed at all the time, but with like no really good coaching, and then there's parents like me who would want that kind of strictness, but also like very level-headed, very structured, and like just really professional. And I think that's probably pretty hard to find in kids programs unless they're getting paid a lot more.
Well, right, and that's the other thing is, would you put her in a program based on that and not taking into account, like, so there's a lot of private programs out there and they're really, really expensive. And so like, is that something, and like, how do you feel about the private programs? And maybe in that situation, Claire would be in a environment that you're more comfortable with as far as the structure and the coaching staff and the way that they allow the kids to develop. But maybe she's in there with just a bunch of other kids from the same socioeconomic, ethnic backgrounds. And so maybe you're getting one side, but on the other side, you're kind of losing a little bit of the diversity there.
Yeah, and that's why I should have stayed in New York, basically. So, I mean, I don't think she's going to get, I guess, economics-wise, she'd get the kind of change, but diversity, probably not, just considering where we live right now. I think I would look at everything, like, individually. I think that there's probably benefits in one or the other. It's probably more beneficial to have her in both types of programs, so she really understands, like, one thing that I'd say was really good for me is that I bounced around from like public programs to private school programs. So I really was able to see and develop kind of an opinion about what I thought was good and what I thought wasn't in terms of how people were teaching things.
Right.
And also like being surrounded by different people was helpful.
Well, how does Jen feel about like, because Jen didn't really do sports growing up, right? She was just doing like theater, and I'm curious about like Jen's take on all of this as well. And
apparently Jen did shot put in high school, which she just told me about the other day. Yeah, and she did track, something else in track, and then she played soccer, I want to say. She didn't make the volleyball team. I think this is kind of me on kind of a Lone Ranger type thing. Like, I don't think that Jen's going to have the input. Like, yeah, she'd want her to be involved in things, but I don't know if she's going to be, like, as particular. She'll probably just want to throw her into any program. Like, she wouldn't probably look as deeply into it as I would.
And how much like, because I know my parents didn't give me a lot of choice until I was like 10. Like, I basically just did what they told me to do. So I'm curious the amount of like decision making power that that you think maybe one Claire on an individual level should have, and then in general, maybe your opinion about kids and having their ability to decide what sport they want to play, when they want to play it, if they only want to play one sport or if they want to play multiple sports.
It's a little bit of a dilemma for me because I bounced around all over the place into all different sports, which I see the benefit of that. But at the same time, I feel like I never really had the opportunity to be really great at one thing. It's partially due to my ADD, and also my parents did let me have that leeway. Like, they really did just, I'd be like, I don't want to do karate anymore. Like, I want to do soccer now. And then they just take me out of it and put me in it. Like, they never really put the pressure on me to stick with something. So I think if she does pick something and kind of, I think that I'd kind of not force her, but put more pressure on her than I received to stay in it and like work through things and actually like give it more of a chance and really like, I think I'd also like gauge her ability at the sport and see if I thought it was something she was excelling at or something that was actually like hurting her over time, like because she was part of something that she really sucked at.
Yeah. She can like start hockey in like the next year, so there's.
Yeah, we don't really have hockey here. It's not cold.
She has a hockey stick.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely put her in hockey. I'm trying to get her to ski this season a little bit, so that she's used to just like moving on something else. And I think, I guess, without all the equipment and stuff, it might not be as intimidating to her. But
what do you think about her being in any like? Would you be opposed to her being in like traditionally male-dominated sports?
I'd rather her be in them, but I would almost rather her like not be separated. Like, I'd want her to be in like co-ed stuff.
There was an interesting excerpt in one of the books, and it talked about basically like looking at rec programs for young kids, like what would be Claire's age in another like 6 months or a year, and that they were already separated and discussing like why they needed to be separated or should they be separated at that point, and what that does to like the development of the attitudes of the kids about what it means to be a girl or a boy, female, male.
Yeah, I keep telling Jen this stuff about how like all of this stuff subconsciously starts when we're really young, and it's not going to change until people start recognizing that. So I feel like if someone was telling my kid that, I'd pull her out of the class. Like, just even more so now, she's not in sports, but still like with the kind of, she watches Paw Patrol, and like if you buy a shirt and you're a boy, you get all like the boy puppies on your shirt, and they do things like a firefighter, and like it's just so separate. They have all like kind of blues and red colors, and then all the girl stuff has purples and pinks and flowers, and like everyone needs to stop with all that stuff too. And then I think it definitely crosses over. I think the first thing that also separates kids are sports, and that's like the next step. Is once I put her in sports, she's being separate. It's like, you're not strong enough as the boys, so here you go. You're stuck in with all the girls who you're maybe better than all of them, and would be more challenged if you were with like a mixed group of kids who have all ability levels. So
Yeah. Why, I really like that point. I didn't know that about Paw Patrol. My friend's kid watches it. Like,
I don't like it.
That's crazy how they're starting it at that age. Like,
it's just everything. I think it starts with color in general. Just like, I have girls and everyone wants to give them pink. And I think, okay, you can like the color pink, but like, I think in our society, especially I don't know how it is elsewhere, but in America, like, that color then starts to attach to a lot of other things.
I mean, I think I think it's pretty universal. I mean, it's the same here. And in here, in many ways, it's worse in that girls are supposed to do, like, I've asked several times, like, okay, like, if I put my future kids in a school here, and my daughter wants to play rugby, can she? And the overwhelming answer is, oh, we don't know, because girls play field hockey. Like,
right.
Like, so it's very much like what's expected of the girl and what's expected of, like, being more feminine. And even field hockey is considered like extreme for girls. So I think the U.S. is, in my opinion, probably one of the more progressive countries, and we see that even that's not so progressive.
right.
So cool. Well, I won't take up any more of your time. So thanks for sitting down with me and doing the interview. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. No problem.